Greetings, friends. It is time to continue revealing some shocking and ancient truths related to alchemy and to the energy processes that emerge from it, corroborating them with the new applied scientific laws and making us revalue everything that we were taught since we were little and that is taken as undeniable truths. In the past videos, we were talking about nature and energy, about the conductivity of the materials and their purity. We were talking a bit about what energy really is and how this is always a consequence of the alchemy, operating at all levels. If you haven't seen those videos, I recommend that you give yourself some time to do so. Otherwise, you will not fully understand the ideas that are to come. After having seen all this, we can continue speaking now about the relationship between energy and plants, about the electrical charges that exist in this dimension, and the many ancient alchemical secrets that they hide from us. This video is the continuation of those two previous videos. Let's start. First of all, I would like to ask you a question. What are the trees? It is a great question. One that we almost never do. The truth is that this secret was hidden for quite some time. The alchemy related to these. Alchemy that we use today in a clearly negative way. They are replacing trees with technosatanism, using evil alchemy. I will explain this to you now. Look at this forest. Branched parallel linear forms, having a central power line that is symmetrically divided in order to capture more energy. Now let's see what the antennas looks like. Do you see the similarity? Why do you think they look the same? That's because they both work by the same principle. There is energy in the environment in the form of frequencies. The antennas capture that information and then transform it, channeling it through a root-like conduit. The antennas also must always be connected to ground, same as all electric devices. Do you know why that is? The reason that all energy need to be the ground connection. It is just like a tree. It needs to take on a certain energy. Energy that is only found on the ground. Have you noticed how technicians commonly say, connect something to ground? Well, that is not only for protection against strikes. The very earth has a charge, a type of energy. The entire global electrical system is grounded to canalize this energy. The cables themselves already have their own internal ground connection. Without it, they could not function. But as I said in the last video, most of the technical processes carry little secrets that, when not knowing the old, are ignored and minimized. Then, why is it that all energy devices must be grounded to work? Even the airplanes. Otherwise they couldn't have electric power inside. But how? Okay. Airplanes function as isolated voltage conductors. In other words, they generate electricity autonomously by means of motors and turbines. Magnets, and another energy flux of charges stored by the batteries. All of this means has their own simulated ground connection, but isolated from the outside. This by a Faraday cage, which isolate the negative charges that are inside the plane, providing an inverted polarity inside. This Faraday cage provides the necessary ground to complete the electrical circuit and, at the same time, protect the plane from lightning strikes. But where does the energy of lightning goes when it strikes an airplane? To understand this, we must first explain what a Faraday cage is. They tell us it is a phenomenon, careful with the word, called electrical shielding, through which a protection is created by manipulating the electromagnetic charges inside so that they be zero, allowing the lightning energy to pass more easily through the external metallic conductive layer without disturbing the electrical circuit inside the aircraft. The lightning will then go to ground, completing its cycle. So, we have scientifically observed a flow of positive electricity moving downwards from the atmosphere. The cause is the negative charge of the Earth, which attracts positive ions from the atmosphere. Understanding that positive energy is above and negative energy is below. Just like in the ancient legends. Interesting, right? Proof of this is that airplanes become charged with this positive static electricity during flight. This due to friction with air particles. To prevent damage, airplanes have static discharges made up of carbon filaments, and which are usually the places where lightning escapes. Once on land, these must be replaced so that it can be operational again. Although, it is always necessary to check the fuselage and wings to prevent burns after an impact. In this way, lightning is not a direct electrical threat to the user or the principal motors, but it could lead to a router failure or external damage to the aircraft, being this of a conductive material, and due to their high altitude, it makes them perfect targets for lightning. Let us remember that lightning is a powerful natural discharge of electricity produced by this world. Positive and negative energies seek to unite, looking for the fastest way, the purest path. This is extremely important. The purification acts at all levels. Remember it. Lightning itself is considered a weather phenomenon. Again, that word. A phenomenon is to refer to everything that is unverifiable, incomprehensible. In relation to this phenomenon, there is another, as spectacular and beautiful as the previous one, although less aggressive. It's called Fire of San Telmo, and for centuries it was a terrifying and strange spectacle for sailors and pirates, frightened to see how inexplicable flames were produced at the ends of the masts of sailing ships during storms in the middle of the ocean, even altering the direction of the compasses. From this, we can reconfirm two things. 1. That both energy charges are magnetic. That is, they seek to unite. exchange their energies, altering the compasses. Just like a magnet, they seek to make communion with each one. Alchemy is that mix, that communion of energies that interact with each other to produce different effects, usually light. And 2. That both charges are always required to generate power. Whether you go on the air or on the water. This is just an example, so you can appreciate how every energy circuit requires the ground negative charge and also the positive charge. Every electrical device requires both energies or charges to be able to function. Positive and negative charges. Be aware of the word, because we are so asleep that they say it in our faces and we do not perceive it. Positive and negative energies, as if it were good and evil. Living and coexisting. Extrapolating one into another. Let's see. Why do they call them positive and negative charges? And coincidentally, the negative ones are the ones below, and the positive ones above. It is not my opinion that positive energies come from above, and negatives from below. A quick investigation is enough to corroborate it. The physical laws are all based on the original alchemical principles. Do you see it? How do they hide everything from us in plain sight, so that we do not realize the greatness? Now tell me, what is a battery? How is from inside? The cathode and the anode. It is these positive and negative charges joining together and being one. Confronting. That's wise alchemy. Producing energy as a result. Alchemy works by uniting different stored energies with different charges. Let's see. These devices are a clear example of how energy alchemy is implicit in all modern creation. Look at the similarity. It is very obvious how the same principles remain intact. The snakes together symbolize the alchemical energy released through the conjunction of both positive and negative charges. Both charges together and fighting each other, releasing and canalizing that stored primal energy. Most can't really understand the symbols. That's because it is occultism. It's made for being occult. Truths that they sought to hide through symbolism. Symbolism that only the truly initiated could understand, and that continues to be used today. Symbolism that is an analogy of nature. In this way, why do you think this is the sign for positive energy? Why is also the sign related to celestial energy? Could it be that maybe are expressing the same? Now, why do you think this is the sign related to negative energy? Well, it's because the negative sign represents the lower plane on which we step on. the water, or the land. The straight line that conforms our kingdom, our stratum, the plane. I do not know if you manage to understand all the greatness when I say that we ourselves, all animated beings, are like batteries, mixing positive and negative energies. All those stored energies that provide us the nutrients for all those transformations. The alchemical cycles that occur at all levels. Everything has these stored energies. They receive them as frequencies, transforming them into matter and into all kinds of alchemical components. We are conductive batteries that are equipped with an energetic RAM memory. All beings receive and transform these etheric nutrients and the solar energies. Those are the two charges. The positive and negative energies that runs through both physical and emotional alchemy, transforming them into work energy and will. Plants also have these connections. We must realize how plants have multiple senses. But how is this possible? In a recent interview in the Chilean newspaper, neurobiologist Stefano Mancuso from the University of Florence, also founder of the International Plant Neurobiology Laboratory, explains that, in fact, science has shown that plants have the same 5 senses as human beings. And aside, about 15 additional senses. Among these hypersensory capacities of plants is the perception of elements in the soil, the perception of electrical and magnetic changes, the chemical gradients of water, as well as the presence of pathogens, among many others. Even maybe some we don't even know about. Mancuso clarifies that plants do not have eyes or ears like us, but they perceive all the gradations of light and sound vibrations. It has also been shown that they communicate with each other and even protect the youngest. Fungi are also known to have a very high capacity for reasoning and complex problem solving. Here we see a mushroom finding its way through a maze, following the shortest path. How is it possible that plants have such intelligence without even having a brain? How they detect objects and even communicate with each other. Their intelligence and the magnificent processes they carry out for the benefit of this world and all living beings. Photosynthesis is another great secret, one which they minimize to make us forget how incredible these beings are. I think we all know that photosynthesis is a process by which plants transform sunlight into energy by themselves, using it to grow and reproduce, to purify groundwater and elevates it, transforming ozone and CO2, transforming it into oxygen, among many other functions, such as reducing temperature or providing nutrients to the soil. Ozone as such is a great secret that we will detail later. The so-called ozone layer and the reason for its existence. But currently, this substance can already be made artificially with alchemy by generating a high electrical voltage called corona effect that produces ozone and also, collaterally, negative ions. In other words, separating it. Cause, when we make ozone through alchemy, we separate their molecules, their material substance. When this, negative energies are produced as a residue. Interesting. How all concords with the primordial alchemical laws. For example, ionization is the process of exchanging both positive and negative electrical charges. And for science, is also a phenomenon on which an atom, those tiny beings, fight each other and make communion between them. Between the cation and the anion. Same duality. This is very important, and you will understand later. But let's continue. The generation of ozone has applications in the purification or disinfection of the air, in the treatment and purification of water, and in electromedicine, such as ozone therapy. For plants, this substance, in low quantities, enhances and stimulates the roots, providing oxygen, which increases the production and quality of the fruits. It is also a great disinfectant that prevents plant diseases without generating chemical residues. But then, what is photosynthesis? Photo means light. It is actually something very simple and at the same time very magnificent when you say it without scientific technicalities. It is the ability of every being to live from the sun. And why do I say, of all being? Well, it turns out that not only plants do photosynthesis, but all beings. We ourselves require energy from the sun to heal ourselves, and for certain metabolic reactions linked to melanin and D vitamin. Animals also do photosynthesis. Even cold-blooded animals. The reptiles. They need it even more. Although, without moving, they can spend a very long time lethargic, and even without eating. This is something incredible that we will cover in detail in the future. The alchemical differences between kingdoms. However, for now I'm interested in show to you how everything requires these alchemical energies projected from the sun. Even the bacteria, which has a very particular structures which are clearly similar to those that enhance photosynthesis in all the plants. These suggests that the process is older than previously thought. This finding could mean that photosynthesis needs a rethink, making traditional school ideas of the energy and the photosynthesis obsolete. Then, photosynthesis is the ability of all being to use the sun's energy to produce benefits, like sugars or vitamins. But when you ask them, how is that these occur? They say it's a phenomenon on which several unknown chemical reactions may happen. These processes were carried out by the same structural tiny beings, by their exchange of their charges, their alchemical-based energies. That's why they don't tell us is alchemy, for us to not find the true meaning of that phenomena. For that reason, the scientists simply extrapolate their findings and intuit how photosynthesis must work. However, no one knows exactly how plants manage to do it. Plants and algae, as well as bacteria and animals, carry out oxygenated photosynthesis, which somehow separates water into oxygen and hydrogen, releasing oxygen as a waste product. So you could say that we breathe the plant's droppings, thus completing the alchemical cycle and serving ourselves as alchemy for this world. Amazing, right? How everything is part of the cycle. And even more incredible is to see how all the chemistry is used before by the plants. See how we just seek to mimic all of their processes, emulate them, and even seek to perfect them, many times without achieving it. Like a camera, which cannot capture the same definition of the human eye. Not yet, and definitely not for some time more. Cause they are trying to emulate what was created by creation itself. Perfect what is already almost perfect. Both spiritual and material are the parts of the path of the alchemist. All humans are alchemists, in one level or other. But not all scientists are currently connected with their spirituality. Current scientists, despite being alchemists, have forgotten their true purpose. They are corrupted by money and status. Scientists, despite being so intelligent, do not know about the ancient, about all those magnificent transformation processes that they use and that don't get to see all their impressive magic within what they do. The responsibility that they have in their hands just for allowing themselves to be used. Since ancient times it has been the same. All the processes we use now are just more perfected alchemy. That's why the materials used now are almost the same elements that always has existed. Very old and charged elements. They just have been more purified and mixed with others. But they are actually the same principles. When people don't know about the old, they tend to minimize all to just recipes, not seeing the greatness imbued in each of the things that surround us, the similarities that exist between and within everything. All that they do not tell us, and that is clearly dismissed. The alchemical coincidences between the batteries and the existence of the energy planes. The duality that we already talked about. Having said that, maybe you can answer me a question. Why does all of nature grow upwards? We do the same, but why? Why do trees have roots that grow downwards, and we don't? They can't move like us, like the animated beings. They cannot be separated from their ground connection, off that negative energy charge that this world provides. We also drink water, transform nutrients, and do photosynthesis. But then, why trees can't move from the same place? Okay. Trees and nature are not isolated systems like us. We are like the airplanes, remember? isolated systems, that collecting both loads when transiting. Do you remember how the energy circulates through them? Well, it turns out that there are many people who have been hit by lightning, and they do not receive any damage. The energy flows freely through them, with no internal damage, just some burns on the fuselage. Please notice the similarities. That is why we, and the animals, are animated beings. Beings with their original energy charges isolated and contained. Like batteries. Batteries that are equally composed of carbon and water, of salt and iron, melanin, and even gold. In future videos we will talk about all this, causes a lot of information. A lot of extremely impressive knowledge that we will be revealing. However, there is an idea that I would like to rescue from these two already made videos about energy and nature. An impressive reflections about the divine creation. All of this arise from my personal research on alchemy and hidden history. Being at the same time a worldwide secret. A knowledge that, as we said, is beyond all evil, beyond all religion. I don't know who is prepared to assimilate it, but here it goes. Many say that God, as a creator, is an energy, but is not. Since energy is always a consequence of the alchemy. Others say that God is a force, but neither is it, since magnetism is a force, and I see no one who praises magnetism. So, what is God? Well, God is a will. The great will that wanted to know itself and split, fragmenting itself into alchemical ions with the ability to know itself. All the quantum laws also correspond with the alchemy of the worlds, converging in all dimensional planes as levels, so that they can be purified into both directions. Later I will make a complete video explaining more about this, because it is an excessively complex topic. Nothing religious. Nothing earthly. The difference of alchemy is that it is not a religion. Alchemy, as I said in the last video, is a path. A personal, and at the same time, an holistic search. A search that led to the knowledge and the manipulation of matter, to transformation and purification. Powers that carry great responsibility to this world. All the great masters of the past were alchemists. Great wise alchemists and magicians. All of them come here with a mission. Purify ourselves and purify others. You won't find these topics on any other channel. Most doesn't mess with the fundamentalist. They only share the most horrendous, without realizing that the real solution is in us. In educating for the future. For children to understand the responsibility that they have and how none of this is by chance. We already said it. It responds to a clearly intelligent planning and design. Please realize how there are energetic charges coexisting in everything. Reactions happening. It is very important to awaken children to all the wonderful things that have been hidden from us. Make them see why they have to go against everything instilled by the system. Make them see that we need to seek utopia as the inexorable objective of all humanity. Get the kids out of the schools. Children must be educated in nature and communion until they are 7 years old. Until they can decide with virtue and love. Not indoctrinated to compete and destroy everyone for mere paper. It is time to wake up and start being serious with this knowledge. Share. We speak the truth, and we will be heard. You just have to wake up from the great deception. The system does not work. Time to get out. Reactive Factory Project.